Welcome to the Microschools Show, your window on the global microschools movement. Whether you're a teacher with a dream to build a school of your own, or a parent who's looking for a school that would suit their amazing kid, you're sure to be inspired by the creativity and innovation of our guests. I'm your host, Dr. Mara Leineberger. The Microschools Show was launched to feature guests from all over the globe who have championed personalized learning for students by building a microschool of their own, or to spotlight some of the key players in the microschools movement. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Stacey Mayo, Director and Lead Teacher of Educational Harbor, a private Christian school in Palmetto, Florida. Welcome to the show, Stacey.
Hi.
Hey, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how were you inspired to create Educational Harbor?
Sure. Well, I've been a teacher for about 15 years now. I've been thinking about having an independent private school since I was in college, actually. I sat in high school and I actually have pretty severe ADHD, which I didn't know at the time. But as I was in college, I was thinking about how inefficient public school was in comparison to college, where I could pick my classes, I could pick the times my classes were. And at the time, I didn't even realize I was doing it, but picking classes at times where my brain worked best, and picking stuff I was interested in. And so I started sort of concocting this idea that maybe elementary, middle, and high school could be just a little bit more efficient with smaller classes, with more class time, more connection with the teachers, and learning through play, which as I've gone about my research, I've realized how just super important that is. I taught in public school for 9 years. I taught 3 years in Arizona. I actually student taught in Michigan, and then I moved to Arizona and taught 3 years there. And then I came to Florida and I taught 6 years in Florida in Hillsborough County School District in a few different schools in the district. And near the end of that time period was when Common Core was first rolled out. So I actually have a master's in educational leadership, and I had always intended to become a principal in a public school and to work my way up through the public school district to make the public schools better. And after Common Core was rolled out, and at that time, I had 2 kids of my own. I have 2 daughters and an older stepson. So my older daughter was around 3 at the time, and I taught first grade in a Common Core setting, and it broke my heart. So it was just not something that I could continue. It didn't feel right to me. It flew in the face of what I felt was years of early childhood development research. And so I wanted to create something else. And that was when I was really pushed to start something else. At the time, I met up with a couple of other ladies who encouraged me to quit public school and to do something else. Originally, Educational Harbor had started as a place for homeschool families to come and get assistance. So I actually started out teaching extra science classes. One of the other ladies at the time, she tutored, she taught math classes. And what we really found out was that the homeschool families in our area really didn't need as much help as we had thought they did. They were already settled. They already had their curriculum. They had their routines. They had their patterns. And for the most part, most of them didn't want extra help. They didn't want a certified teacher. They liked what they were doing, and they liked the groups they were in and the co-ops and things. So there really wasn't a place for us in what we were doing. Around the same time, my stepson became friends with a boy who struggles with neurodiversity. He struggles with autism spectrum disorder. And the mother, I just had such a heart for her. And she just kept saying, why don't you start a private school? Why don't you start a private school? And I kept saying to her, like, how am I going to start a private school? Like, how does that happen? I have no investors. I have no money. I have no background in the financial aspect of it. I knew a lot about teaching, and I had my master's in educational leadership, so I knew a little bit about administrating, but I wasn't really sure how to get started. I literally went home that day and Googled how to start a private school. So I had no idea how to start. This was back in 2015, so about 5.5 years ago. And that was sort of where it all started. So after Googling how to start a private school and figuring out the rules for the state of Florida, I just started filing paperwork. And actually, struggling with ADHD myself, it's funny because I always joke that I have to start filing paperwork months in advance because I'm going to get it wrong and I'm going to have to redo it. And even after filing the same paperwork over and over again, that's what happens. But now we have 6 what I call full-time teachers. We actually go 4 days a week, and then on Fridays we do field trips and club days and other fun activities. So our main academics are 4 days a week, and so other than myself, there are 6 other teachers and 2 other tutors, and then we have an accountant this year for the first time, which is fabulous. And we have an assistant that helps out in the afternoon.
Amazing. How many kids do you have? So I want to tell you, Stacey, I'm going to affirm for you in front of all of the people who are watching this, that your story is amazing, that this is how it happens. It's not dissimilar to mine. About the same time, I was looking at exactly the same things, and wound up doing the school building piece, business building piece. But I totally commend you for that tenacity of like, I need this, my kids need this. And then other people are asking me for this. That's sort of provenance of like, there is documented need in the market that you're in for this school to serve a specific population or a specific kind of learning that's not happening for a group of kids.
Yeah. So we have 60 kids. And we do K through 12. This is actually our first year where we're going to have seniors, where we're going to have a graduating class. So we only have 8 in the graduating class, but it's perfect that way because as I've done this, we started with 3 kids in January of 2016. So I only started with half of a school year. I had 3 kids at the beginning. That school year ended with 6 kids. Now, I am so fortunate that I'm here in Florida because in Florida, we have all of these great scholarship programs. So I was able to utilize that to help a lot of our kids. So over half of our kids have some sort of neurological diversity, everything from ADHD to dyslexia, a lot of just specific learning disabilities as they're listed on the IEPs. Kids, we have a couple with autism spectrum disorder. We have a couple with audio processing disorder. And then we just have just a smattering of kids who just don't learn in the box, if you will. And then on top of that, looking at our whole population, over half of our kids are on income-based scholarships. So we really cater to kids who don't fit inside the box, or even conscientious parents who are just looking for something outside of the public schools, but either they aren't interested in homeschooling, or they have their own careers that they're working on, or they just want a specialist for one reason or another. But yeah, so we serve a bunch of different people in the community.
It's amazing. Just again, I'll just reiterate for everybody, this is a very common theme to a lot of the micro school builders that I'm talking to, that, there is this gap. There are groups of kids who are not being served well, who are sort of slipping through the cracks, that really need this kind of specialized setting where they can grow, learn, be served in the ways and the time frames that work for them. So I'm curious, Stacey, what does a day look like at Educational Harbor? So you've got K-12 kids. They're not all in one ginormous classroom together.
No.
I mean,
we did start in one class.
Be. I mean, they could be, but since you have a number of staff members, I'm guessing that you've broken up into smaller groupings of kids for specific reasons.
Yes. So we have 6 main classrooms. We have a class that's K through 2, a class that's 3 through 5. We have a class that's grade 6 and 7, and then another class that's 7 and 8. And then our high school classes are sort of based on what the kids need. So high school is, it's kind of a nightmare to plan, but once we get it all settled, it runs really well. Our classes, K through 8 are no bigger than 10 kids, unless you're talking like a special like PE. Otherwise, if it's language arts, math, history, science, reading, writing, all that stuff, it's all 8 to 10 kids. And actually our K2 class has 8 kids right now. Our 3-5 class has 10. And then in our middle school class is extremely diverse as far as how the kids think. And so we do have 3 teachers in middle school. One of our classes even only has 3 kids in it, because what we decided to do was to take those kids who are more than a year behind in reading or math and do a specialized program with them. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Diane Kraft Right Brain program, but that's what we're doing with our kids who really are, even our small classes just weren't enough. So we wanted to do a little bit extra for them. What's great is that we've got kids who are kind of fluid throughout these classes. So we have in our 6-7 class, we've got one kid who's, we call it the age grade, but their age grade would be 4th, even though they're in the 6-7 class. So it depends on a variety of factors, not just their academic achievement, but also their personality, how the class jives together does influence where we place kids. But we also want them to be challenged. We want them to be encouraged. Our freshman class involves some 8th graders, kids who were already, they were already writing 2-page essays. They were already reading high school level. We just go ahead and move them up. So there's not a lot of there's not a lot of holding kids into a grade level or holding kids into a class. We really want them to be able to utilize our school to either hide, take extra time if they need it. If they're, older, but they're not quite there academically, they're able to hide in our rooms because they are multi-age rooms. But on the other hand, if they are ahead academically, they don't have to wait for other kids. They don't have to wait to be a certain age to a certain extent. There's a lot more fluidity in the grade levels. So when I say age grade, I'm talking about like if they were in public school, the grade that they would be in. But for us, it just depends on, where they are academically, socially, emotionally, and where they fit best.
So pick one of those grade bands or that groupings and tell me what their day might look like. I'm guessing you actually, in addition to administering the school, that you work with a group of kids educationally. Is that correct?
Yeah, I teach high school all day, and then I administrate in between. I'm so blessed this year. My kids are really independent, and so I guess I'll explain a little bit about what my the K-8 program is a little bit different than the high school program. So I'll talk first, I guess, about the K-8 program, and then I'll talk about the high school program. So in our middle school, for example, we always start with a morning meeting. We utilize conscious discipline. So we always start with an introduction to the day, character development, Bible study. That's about 15 to 20 minutes. And you would see a lot of conscious discipline things in there where we do a unifying, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. We do, Bible study. We learn about how to just be good to each other, how to love each other. And then from there, they go to their classes. They're with their teacher most of the day. So even our middle school teachers teach a variety of topics. Our high school teachers teach a variety of topics because to us, the kid is first. The academics are second. So we want to build relationships with kids. And we utilize a lot of the programming that you would see in a homeschool wise as well. So we utilize Abeka. We utilize teaching textbooks, Math UC. We do master books, we do Knotgrass. So the beauty of doing that is it's really set up so that any dedicated person can break it apart for the kids and deliver the instruction. We want more so to focus on that relationship so that we don't end up with a lot of kids who are so defeated by not understanding the curriculum that they shut down. So they're with that teacher then from math class language arts. In the morning, our middle school, they're with their homeroom teacher for math and language arts. I think after that, they go out to recess. Even our middle school has recess, our high school has recess. So they go out to recess, they come back, and then they do history and science. And they have a separate time period for grammar. And I think they've broken reading and math apart, or reading and writing are they're broken apart, so they're more like specifically instructed. That, and then they have an hour-long lunch. The afternoon is really interesting because in the afternoon, we don't make our kids go to certain specials. So, you know, in a public school, a kid would go to music, art, PE, library. They would have to go to all of those things. So instead, we have 11 different specials for the kids to choose from over the course of the week. They can choose which ones they want to go to. And in the afternoon, they have an hour and a half from 2 to 3:30. During that time, they might attend specials like PE, music, and art, but we also have theater, we have costume making, we have crafting, we have gardening, and the kids get to choose 45-minute time slots, and in between those time slots, they work on their homework. So what I always tell parents, I don't want them to go home and fight with their kids about homework all night. We do our best to tutor them and help them complete any homework that they have before they leave at 3:30. And then we also have availability after school as well if they need one-on-one tutoring.
Wow, sounds like a really full range of services and so many more options and choices for these kids to
Yes.
have. I'm guessing
Yes.
that you've got, I don't know that you're measuring it, but I'm guessing you have high levels of satisfaction on the part of the kids and feelings of belongingness. Like with 60 kids, I'm guessing you know every single one of those kids by name.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my high school has 12 kids. That's the cap for high school. So for high school, it starts the same. We have an assembly first, and it's with the high school and middle school meet together, and then the elementary meets separately. So in our high school, they'll go to class. We do semester-long classes. I remember sitting in, when I was in high school, we did 7 or 8 classes all day, every day, all year. And I know some schools do block scheduling now, so it's not all day, every day. But that being said, we do 3 classes for a semester, and then the following semester we switch. What that allows us to do is to really actually get in deeper, because we have an hour and a half of English, and then they take a break where they have 15 minutes. They can go outside and do recess. They can stay inside and hang out. Often we'll play card games with them. We play Uno or board games, things like that. And then they'll come back for another hour and a half class. They go to lunch for 45 minutes. Again, they can go to recess. Some of the older kids will leave campus and grab lunch and come back. And then they'll have another hour and a half period at the end of the day. Finally, they have another half hour from that 3 to 3:30 time slot where they can either attend guitar if they want, they can get homework help if they want. And often we allow them to collect volunteer hours by doing things around the school. We don't have custodians. So our high school kids, they clean the school, they move things, they paint, they do maintenance, so like, minor building maintenance under guidance. So there's just a lot of opportunities there. And then of course on Fridays, what's great is that the kids can do their volunteer work on Fridays. They can have a job if they're in high school. We also have club days where we have the kids who are, well, any of the kids really, the high schoolers come in and work on their projects if they're assigned projects or essays or whatever. They can come in on Fridays and work on those with a teacher. Or we have club days where they can come and they can do board games. They can do, our younger kids will do Legos, Play-Doh, building materials, a Twister, just things that there's just not enough time to do during the school day, but they always want to be able to play. So we schedule time for that.
Awesome. So you mentioned to me before we started the recording that you're about to receive accreditation for your private school. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That sounds exciting, and congratulations on that.
Thank you. So we are a candidate for accreditation with the FCCPSA, which is the Florida Christian Coalition of Private Schools Accreditation. And they are a state accrediting program that serves small schools. So that's their whole purpose, is to serve small Christian schools. What's amazing about that is they've really helped us to become a better school and have a better system. I mean, even so far as to how we track money, how we track budgeting, how I pay payroll, how we do safety programs. So, fire drills, things like that. Things that when you're starting a micro school and you're focused on the teaching and you're focused on the families, you don't always think to do all of these other stuff behind the scenes that in a public school, all of those systems are already set up. But in a micro school, you may not remember to do all of the little stuff. What's great is that if we become accredited with the FCC PSA, which I am confident that we're going to be able to do, then we will also be able to become accredited regionally with ASCS, which is ASCS, ASAC. It's like it's ASACS or something, or maybe it's ACSI. Anyway, it's a regional accreditation program. And what that will allow us to do is if one of our kids gets a degree through Educational Harbor, they could take that out of state and it's considered an accredited high school. So it's kind of cool. Now the state of Florida doesn't recognize any accreditation. I always tell the parents that, and that even without an accreditation, our kids can still attend Florida universities and Florida colleges, and it's not a problem. We also have a really heavy homeschool community. So as far as being accredited, a lot of the universities here, it's not as big of a deal to them. Mostly it's just so that we can become the best school that we can be. And so that, it looks good. It's nice to have a stamp that says somebody else checked us and we're doing what we say we do.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We have big chunks of that in place in micro school builders, minus the accreditation piece, because one, we're not there yet. And two, I have a number of clients who don't feel like they want to do that. So it's interesting. There are definitely people who are not so sure that that's necessary, just like our homeschooling families, but that's fantastic. And I know when I work with my own clients, the learning to do the bookkeeping, learning to do the budgeting, learning to do payroll, all of those things when you take on staff. It's why we start small, just like you did, because there's a lot less moving pieces when it's just you. But
true.
as you grow, you do have to take into account, things like insurance and accounting and tax withholding and benefits, et cetera. So it's easier to start without those. It's great that you have that organization to help you do that. Because it's really it's tough enough to do this on your own, right? Let alone all of those other parts.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts, and I always joke with my kids sometimes. I just want to delete everything and start over with those the 3 kids that I started with, or the 6 kids, or when it was just me. It's just so much easier with just the one teacher and the kids, and the decisions that you can make. They're just so much more immediate, and so. I always tell people I don't want to get any bigger than we are now. We're at 60 right now. I think the most I would want to do is maybe up to 100, possibly. But because every time you add kids, you have to add rules. So and it's something that I wasn't really fully aware of when I started. And pretty much everybody that came to us has been by word of mouth. So I don't do a lot of advertising. It's just basically been, hey, I heard of your school through somebody else. So I have such a heart for families. I have a hard time saying no, which is how we ended up growing the way that we did. I needed the accreditation to kind of get me in line to where I was supposed to be to do something like have, up to 100 kids.
Yeah. If you get much farther beyond that, you're going to actually just be a school.
Yeah, I
no
know.
longer a micro school. So yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great because you're giving this perspective, even like looking back saying it was easier with just me and those 6 kids. And it's something people should really think about if they want to open a micro school, that the school may never be any larger than who they can actually work with themselves.
Yeah.
In their community. I'm wondering, is there anything else that our listeners should know about Educational Harbor? And something that you think is unique, something that sets you apart from all of the other schools in your community?
Well, I have to
Besides
say that,
being a micro school.
I have to say that one of the things I find to be really unique with Educational Harbor is that if something, a program or a curriculum isn't working for one of our students, we can switch it right away. So for example, I have a student who has pretty severe ADHD. He's in high school. And we like to use Knotgrass history, which if you've ever read Knotgrass history, it's rather thick. The assignments are meaty. And he was having a hard time focusing on that. So what we did is we actually just swapped the curriculum out for him altogether. After a variety of other things that we tried first. So we tried having him come one-on-one. We tried summer school. We tried, and not as a punishment, but more as a, here's an even smaller class that you can have than the 12 that we have. We tried switching the activities he was doing instead of doing a lot of, with Knotgrass, there's a lot of essay writing. So we scrapped that and he was doing projects instead for a while. And we ended up just swapping the curriculum out to using what's called PACE, which isn't, I don't feel like it's as rigorous as Knotgrass, but the thing is that this student, where the student wants to go, he wants to go to MTC. So the fact of the matter is that a really rigorous, thick, meaty history program, he's not going to use that at MTC. So he, you know, and I always tell the kids, like, you know, even if you don't retain all this information now, my real goal is to get you to be able to find information and to break it down and to communicate it effectively. So you're going to become interested in things as an adult that you're not interested in now. So it's not really important to me to memorize, you know, memorize the taxonomy of mushrooms in biology. That's not important to me. What's important to me is to understand that information's out there. You can access it later if you need to, and to be able to say, you know, I studied biology. I have a basic understanding of biology. I have a basic understanding of world history. I can look at a timeline, and I know, you know, just some basic dates. You know, I know the Salem witch trials was before the Declaration of Independence, and I know that the you know, Hitler was at World War II, you know, was in World War II. So having a basic understanding and the availability to find information is more important to me than chewing on a curriculum that may not be a good fit for that student specifically. Now, if I have a college-bound student, I'm going to be like, okay, you know, I understand that this isn't your favorite topic, and I know you don't like it, but you need this credit, you know, to get into this university, or you need this credit to get into college. And so, and this is going to set you up to be successful in college. I really want them to be successful for wherever they go next. Now, if this student who's taking this PACE curriculum for world history, if he decides later on he does want to go to university, okay, what I would like for, what I tell the kids is, like, you can always go back. You can go to community college. You can take those classes later on to get to university. There isn't just one path, and you can change your mind. So that's not something I was told as a teenager. When I was a teenager, I was always told, you know, you're going to take college level courses, you're going to take honors courses, AP courses, and you're going to go to college, and there was no other choice. So I think what's really unique about Educational Harbor is that we try to target how the student learns, and we try to choose curriculum and activities that's going to spark that student as much as possible. And if for some reason we do have to do something just for the sake of doing it, for example, a world history credit for a kid who hates world history, that we do it in a way that is the most conducive to the way that kid learns.
Yeah, it sounds great. So I can't believe half an hour always flies by, and it's so much fun to hear what people are doing. One of the questions I like to ask everybody is, have you seen any other great small schools, either in your area, or it could be anywhere in Florida, that you would like us to take a look at and feature in upcoming episodes?
So since Educational Harbor has started, I've noticed a number of small schools popping up around the area. Of course, I wasn't the first. There were 2 others in the area before I even opened my doors. So Family Life Community School was around before me. I think they've been around many years. Providence Community School is another one that's in Lakewood Ranch that some of our students have transferred to or from for whatever reason. Usually it's because they've moved. and both of those are Christian. I just recently learned about a school called the Broach School that's in Bradenton. They're actually part of a larger conglomerate that works out of Jacksonville, but they also believe in small class sizes. And their school by itself is small. So there are a number of micro schools in the area that have been cropping up. Now, I was trying to think.
Well, I just love the fact that you can, off the top of your head, you can list three. You know, what I really hope when people listen to this is that they start to realize that there more and more of them are opening, that in a lot of cases, micro schools are very collaborative and cooperative, that they're sending students back and forth. You know, micro schools they tend to be very niche. So if you don't fit well in one, you might fit really well in another one. So
It's so important to us so that each family find their perfect educational path.
Yeah, I think so too. So we're gonna wrap up. I wish we had more time to talk, Stacey. If you want to get a hold of Stacey and her colleagues, please visit their website at www.educationalharbor.com. Thanks for listening to today's show. I'm still looking for a few more people to be interviewed on the show. So if you'd like to do that, talk about your microschool or share your work in the microschools movement, please reach out to me at mara@microschoolbuilders.com and we'll get your interview set up. Until next time, be well.